Yo, what's going on there, people of the internal webs? Is that guy? It's not locked, and I'm doing a video here today on the death of Peter Tosh. So make sure you stay tuned, stay subscribed. This is the best in Daily Not Locked content. Now, this video comes into play after the fact I did the Peter Tosh Dread review. I got interested, I actually got drawn into a bunch of old school documentaries on Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. And now that I've been shed some light a bit more on his story, I feel like there was a lot of information that was left out in that Peter Tosh Dread review. And mainly, I just wanted to talk about the death of Peter Tosh in this video. This was something that was not brought up in the last video that I made. Unfortunately, Peter Tosh was murdered in a gunfight in his home in the 70s when he was 42. It's just funny how it all turns out, because leading up to his death, this man was, as much as he was against oppression and as much as he was against government control, and as much as he was for like protest and standing your rights, this man's ego like really got to me. It was the fact that he was so egotistical. Is part of the reason I'm not a fan of his characteristics, because of the egotistical side of his story that kept popping up. Him being hot-headed, him being jealous of Bob Marley all the time. Even when Bob Marley died, he didn't even console his lost brother. He said, "Oh, at least now there's some room for us other artists to grow." And it's like, who says like this kind of stuff? And it's the war against the ego that is really breaking down society and individuals. And unfortunately, like, Peter Tosh was showing this. As strong as his music is, I don't appreciate his egotistical side of the documentary that kept popping out, which kind of could have been the leading cause to this man running up in his home, in a sense. I mean, looking at the story here, actually, Peter Tosh was being generous at the time, and he allowed this ex-convict to stay in his home for a while. Out of generosity, he felt like he could help him out, and they became friends. But unfortunately, this man was using Peter Tosh and taking advantage of his generosity, until one day when Peter couldn't help him out for the moment because he was busy working for a tour, and then that's in fact when the ex-convict and two other felons came in the house with armed guns and took his life and shot up everybody else.
During his time off, Peter continued to reach out to the poor and oppressed. In one case, Peter gave a homeless man a bed to sleep on.
So it was saying this happened during his time off from working, actually. And
the man was Dennis Lepo Laban.
Dennis Lepo Laban was the homeless man that he gave a bed to. He actually bought him a brand new bed because of the fact he just came out of prison. He had nowhere to stay, so he helped him out in that sense.
Convicted killer recently released from prison. The two became friends of sorts.
I remember the first time he came there, he asked Peter for a bed to sleep on. Marlene said to Peter, "Let's give him the bed that we just bought yesterday downstairs in the music room." And Peter said, "No, the man just came from prison, let's buy him a brand new bed."
By 1987, Peter had tired of his reclusive life and wanted to get back in the spotlight. But he hadn't mellowed in his time away. Armed with a guitar shaped like an M16 rifle, Peter completed a new album full of protest songs called No Nuclear War.
Too many people are hungry. They don't have food to eat.
No Nuclear War album was really important to him because he hadn't done anything. He realized now that this was his big comeback.
He really wanted to show everyone what he can do. So I know he was more than excited and enthused towards this upcoming album and tour.
So this album, No Nuclear War, actually won a Grammy after his death, surpassing actually Bob Marley, because Bob Marley's never won a Grammy on any of his albums. So it's funny to think that after some people die, this is when their legend becomes intact. It's not until death that people become even more famous than they are. Think about Michael Jackson. Think about Bob Marley. Think about guys like, I guess, Kurt Cobain and Other celebrities that kind of had their lives taken from them, they're immortalized in that sense.
As the tour to promote No Nuclear War approached, Lepo began to come by Peter's house more often. He had become one of the many hangers-on who some say took advantage of Peter's generosity. According to friends, Peter had loaned money to Lepo several times, but with his now frenetic schedule, Peter had little time for the ex-con.
And this is the part when it gets hairy here, because the ex-con came by one more time for some money, and Peter Tosh wasn't giving it to him at the moment, and there was none in the house to give. Peter Tosh said that he would give it to him at a later date, but the gunman did not take that and open fire on all of them.
Every 2-3 weeks, he visited the house, looking handouts. That was about it.
On the night of September 11th, 1987, Peter's house was teeming with energy. Peter, Marlene, and numerous friends were making excited plans for the upcoming tour. Someone knocked at the gate. When it opened, there stood Lepo and 2 other men, armed with guns.
I opened the door to the reception area, and they stepped in. All 3 of them stepped in. That's when I saw one of them pull a gun at me. By this time, the other one also pulled a gun. So there was 2 guns pointed at me.
Mikey came in the room.
When we got there, they already started to beat on Peter.
But he said his voice was all breaking up and showing nervousness, and he was stuttering. But he's like saying I can make some arrangement some other time.
For a moment, I could smell blood.
Oh man, and as tough as Peter Tosh was during these moments, it's just sad to see that, this is Jamaica, man. This is what happens in Jamaica, man. Like, you can get run up on real quick, especially back in the 70s when the oppression was a lot worse than it is now, but not to say it's any better now, really.
With undeniable talent and determination, Peter Tosh had clawed his way out of the poverty of the Jamaican ghetto in the early 1960s. He had dedicated his life to fighting for the oppressed and disadvantaged. In the end, it was a man he reached out to who turned on Peter and silenced his powerful voice.
So, out of all his generosity, he was trying to help people. And he was trying to fight the grips of Satan. He says that a lot in this documentary. He's saying how Satan kind of had a possession over him. Hence, probably why he was so egotistical and hot-headed at times. But Peter Tosh definitely did believe in God and the devil. But for this video now, you can take a look at this documentary yourself, Peter Tosh Behind the Music, if you're really interested in learning more about the man's lifestyle, and you kind of see the hot-headedness I was talking about. But I'm gonna end it here quick with some quick facts about Peter Tosh. Now, Peter Tosh was actually born as Winston Hubert McIntosh in 1944. Peter Tosh is actually just a stage name. His first album was called Legalize It, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what he's talking about. And that actually, this song Legalize It is I never realized it was Peter Tosh until I started looking into him, but it's played at every single marijuana rally that I come across, every single marijuana protest. It's always playing there. So he is still a protesting figure with his speech today. In the early 60s, Peter Tosh met 2 people, Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer. The 3 will go on to form the Wailing Wailers in 1964, and the rest is history. Peter Tosh also taught himself guitar. He also taught Bob Marley how to play along with the rest of the group. Guitar wasn't the only talent Tosh possessed. He developed an interest in unicycles, often rode them onto stage during shows. He was actually really good on them. Could even ride backwards and hop. Peter Tosh had plenty of success with the Wailers on his own, but he also performed with the Rolling Stones' Mick Jagger. And this was another interesting point in that documentary, is when after he split from the Wailers and left Bob Marley, he hooked up with Mick Jagger in hopes to get fame and fortune from the following of the Rolling Stones. But that also all went to shit because he didn't get the monetary rewards that he would think that he deserved from working with Mick Jagger, and ultimately ended up trying to capture one of the Rolling Stones band members' homes in Montego Bay, or Ochiria, somewhere on the north shore of Jamaica, and they actually had a falling out at that point. After you try to steal someone's home, you're not welcome back to work with that band. And once again, this is like that whole ego that kind of came into play, that kind of stubbed him in his toe more than once, apparently. Lastly, just because Peter Tosh is gone doesn't mean he's not forgotten. His music has seen resurgence over the years as new people discover his music. He's also awarded the Order of Merit, Jamaica's fourth highest honor, in October 2012. And interesting enough, that is the end of this video. And he died on September 11th, 1987. And Bob Marley died on May 11th, 6 years before that. And here's a picture of him singing with Mick Jagger, as I mentioned. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to make this video as it was on my mind. There's going to be more videos coming out of these documentaries that I've been watching, because there's some interesting knowledge that I've been learning from this. So make sure you guys stay tuned, stay subscribed. I'm calling it a day. Not Locked, signing off. Talk to you guys then. Peace.